I am one of the only people in the world to have naturally recorrected my crooked teeth without any orthodontic intervention. No braces, no Invisalign, no BS. Here is exactly how you can do the same. And for reference, if you don't know who I am, my name is Oscar Patel. I completely transformed the way I looked by fixing the actual root cause, my health. I improved my asymmetry, my crooked nose, my overbite, my sleep apnea, my asthma, grew my jaw forward, the list goes on. Yes, I was pretty cooked, but now at least I help thousands of other people do the exact same. I currently have the largest health-based paid community in the world. I interned at a couple myofunctional institutes, and I'm currently funding my own scientific study. So that's the rundown, and let's get into the video. And by the way, this is not medical advice. I am not trying to go against anything that you've been told. I'm simply explaining how I improved my crooked teeth, how I naturally expanded my palate, and how this could potentially help you by fixing your habits. At the very end of the day, we were made perfect. Our ancestors had 50mm palates. They had no malocclusion. They had perfectly straight teeth. Because they ate the way they were intended to, they lived the way they were intended to. They didn't need to get their wisdom teeth removed. And obviously we currently live in an imperfect modern world, and I'm not against orthodontic intervention by any means. However, I do think that we can leverage principles from the past to improve ourselves naturally and make everything a bit easier. So let's get into it. What is step one? Well, step one is loosening your fascia. This is the most fundamental thing. As a byproduct of a toxic modern environment, we all have constricted fascia, which is a layer of connective tissue that runs throughout your body. This prevents the muscles from stretching. This prevents everything from shifting in the right direction. And as a result, we aren't fluid, we aren't mobile, we get injured, and our faces become constricted and held back. And this literally creates negative conditions for everything to shift in the right place. And as a byproduct, we've become overly reliant on retainers rather than using your tongue as your natural retainer. Again, not completely against retainers. Again, not saying I am an orthodontist and this is medical advice, but your tongue can act as your natural retainer, and you shouldn't need a retainer in an ideal world. So how do you loosen the fascia? Well, it's very, very easy. Firstly, you need to realize the connection between the fascia and the lymphatic system. If you want to loosen the fascia, you need to loosen the lymphatic system. I'm not going to run through the entire routine, but you can look things up on YouTube, like the Big 6 lymphatic routine, which goes from the top of here, top of your collarbone, up to your face, and can help loosen the lymphatic system, which will therefore create the conditions for the epicranial fascia, the fascia in your face, to become loose. If you want to loosen the epicranial fascia, there are two key things you need to do. Firstly, you need to recognize the role of the tongue in the face, the most important part of your face and the driver of craniofacial development. If you want to loosen the fascia, you need to loosen the tongue. The tongue holds most of the epicranial fascia and its tension, and it also constricts most of the facial development. In many cases, our tongues are too wide for our palates because we don't have proper tongue posture. So you will see that people have these kind of very wide tongues, which don't fit on the roof of their mouth. If you're not able to fit your tongue on the roof of your mouth, then no matter how many recorrective exercises you do, no matter what happens, no matter whether your teeth are straight because of braces, it's all useless because your face won't match, your bone structure won't match your teeth, and your teeth are a representation in many ways of your bone structure. So this is a very important concept. If you want to loosen the tongue, the easiest exercise to do is to firstly say the letter T like this, like t, t, t. Hold your tongue at that T spot and push backwards with your finger, resisting with your finger. This will stretch the tongue tie a bit. This will activate the genioglossus and hyoglossus muscles. And then secondly, you can go into a very, very important exercise, which is stretching your tongue out as far as possible and opening your mouth open as wide as possible. This is a very basic myofunctional exercise, but I think it's very important. Say the letter T, right? You hit the spot called the incisive papilla, and from this position, you are going to try to open your mouth as wide as possible while holding your tongue at that T spot like this. If you can't open your mouth fully, if you can't fully open your mouth while keeping your tongue at that T spot, then you have constricted fascia, then you have an underdeveloped muscles within your tongue, and your face basically needs a bit of development. This is a very good basic test, and you can repeat this movement, you can repeat the stretching movement, and you can also combine this with other basic myofunctional movements which are focused on stretching the tongue to loosen the fascia and begin getting the system flowing. Then I believe you should combine this with craniosacral or osteopathic techniques to actually directly loosen the mid-palatal suture and loosen the fascia within your face. This is the base of probably the largest driving factor in my transformation. going from this to this, and it is thumb pulling and chin tucking. You shouldn't do this harshly, you shouldn't do this over the top, and you shouldn't take things out of control. But if you do it properly, if you make sure that you're chin tucking, if you align your fascia and you do it, you stand against the wall, tuck your chin to your neck, you align the deep frontal and superficial back lines, you do a proper full body warm up, which means that you're loosening the fascia throughout your entire body, doing things like the cobra pose, or just the basic child's pose, or even kind of like basic yoga movements, or you're stretching your neck and activating the platysma muscle, opening up the fascia, and then combining that with mechanical tension from your thumbs. This is the most effective thing for me, and was the most effective thing in my transformation. And you can see multiple transformations on the screen where people have benefited. You can't get asymmetry, you can't get messed up teeth, because you are literally just using the natural mechanism through which your body functions. It's biologically regulated through your thumbs. You're not ripping your palate apart, you're standing against the wall, you're aligning your fascia, and you're doing it evenly. And I think this is very important. I think most people should do this at least 3 minutes a day, ideally twice a day, and you should be very consistent and nail this obviously in combination with everything. However, this goes into the second point, which is, along with loosening the fascia, you also need to engage the correct muscles. And the muscles are what will hold everything into place, and the muscles are interlinked with your habits. So how do you fix your habits to activate the correct muscles permanently and passively? And no matter whether you have the straightest teeth in the world, no matter whether you have the best habits, this should still be something that everyone is doing. If your habits aren't perfect, no matter how you look, how old you are, how young you are, what situation you're in, then you are degenerating and you are not helping yourself, and you're not structurally as healthy as you can be. Your myofunctional habits, your chewing, swallowing, breathing, and posture are all foundational. Your chewing is the thing that develops everything in the first place. Your teeth are obviously used to chew, and chewing induces mechanotransduction. When you activate the muscles, you then generate osteoblasts, which develops new bone matrix. Chewing is literally the thing, and one of the key reasons why our ancestors had 50mm palates and perfectly developed bone structures, and we don't, because we aren't chewing food, because we have a soft, ultra-processed modern diet. And obviously, I'm not saying that there aren't benefits of the modern world, and I'm not saying we can't adapt, and this is why I think orthodontic intervention in many cases can be useful, because as a byproduct of this toxic modern lifestyle, people need some intervention. But no matter what, you need to be recorrecting your habits, and this is the most effective thing for me overall. I actually started chewing properly. I started engaging my masters while I chew. Obviously, you have to engage the temporalis and you have to engage every muscle, but I began to not prioritize, because you shouldn't prioritize the muscles, but I began to chew properly, actually get mind-muscle connection with my masters, actually develop my jaw, and I also changed my diet. Your diet is actually a very underrated aspect. It is the reason why we all have like maldeveloped teeth in the first place, but you need to be chewing harder foods. Obviously, things like meat should be a foundational part of your diet. You need to be chewing each bite 25 plus times, and you need to be activating your masters. Then the most important thing is you should be swallowing correctly. If you're not swallowing correctly, you're cooked. There are two things that you can do to swallow correctly. You can do the Mona Lisa swallow, or you can also do the tongue and teeth swallow, which is you can put your tongue in between your teeth like this, and then swallow. This will get you in the base position. From there, you can do the Mona Lisa swallow like this. Right, you will see and feel your neck posture becomes a bit better. You activate the muscles, and then from there, you want to swallow without activating any of the muscles in your face, solely using your tongue like this. Mona Lisa, because you're literally just not moving. That is the proper way of swallowing. You need to be sitting up straight. You need to be swallowing properly every single time. You swallow 650 times per day. If you don't think that this can influence the way that you use the muscles in your tongue, and therefore the way that your tongue sits on the roof of the mouth, and therefore the way that your teeth develop, you're cooked. It takes less than 20 grams of force to move a tooth, and your tongue can generate 600 grams of force. If you're not rewiring the proper habits, then you're doing yourself a disservice. And I know it may seem hard to believe, but your tongue shifts your entire face. The most important thing, which is rewiring the way that you breathe. Now, this is proper source. For those that are still listening, this is where it gets really good. You should be breathing in 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out as your base breathing pattern. This will loosen your fascia, loosen your sutures, reset your nervous system, and also it will improve your posture. When you breathe properly, your shoulders come upwards and outwards, your neck becomes straighter, and your system regulates. If you can't breathe properly, you can't shift your face. Sutures become too tight, they become too constricted, and the fascia becomes cooked. If you aren't nailing these habits, then you can't see results. And this goes into the final point, which is small miscellaneous things. Small miscellaneous things is basically, ideally, you shouldn't be sleeping on your back, because then you can't have your tongue against the roof of the mouth. You should be sleeping on your side, so you can have upward and outward pressure on your face. This is very, very important. That's a small miscellaneous thing. Secondly, we have another small miscellaneous thing.
Miscellaneous, very good word, very good word.
which is consuming enough calcium within your diet. You need to do this in order for your teeth to actually have foundation. You should be consuming enough A2 dairy. You should have a proper calcium to phosphorus ratio in your body, and your diet should be locked. If you don't do that, then your teeth can't be remineralized and they'll be weak, less mobile, and they'll be less strong. And finally, you should also not be neglecting the importance of the back neck muscles. If you want to have proper posture and therefore you want your face to develop upwards and forwards and your tongue stay against the roof of the mouth, you need support through the posterior chain. Okay, you have to have a basic fascial foot to glute connection, and you also need to be training and activating the back of your neck to have proper posture so it can support your head to allow for craniofacial development. If you nail all of that, that is the basic routine towards getting straighter, less crooked teeth, expanding your palate, having better habits, and becoming the best version of yourself. I'm not promising anything crazy. Every situation is different. If you want specific advice, if you really want me to go over your situation and not provide medical advice or anything, but actually just guide you in terms of what can be beneficial and how to kind of do this stuff alongside whatever else you're doing or any orthodontic intervention or treatment, etc., then you can join the community, shoot me a message. I personally respond to every single DM. I also do Q&A calls. It is basically my life's work is that community and trying to help everyone in there. It's my mission. It's what makes me tick and it's what makes me happy. So if you want to join, you're more than welcome to. And if you have anything else, drop a comment, reach out to me. You are all legends. Hope you appreciate this video. And remember, health is looks.